Ryan Cropper. He's a nice guy. I'd say he's a pretty nice guy. He helps people. He's a good person. He's going to tell us today how to talk to skeptics. I like this guy.
Hi there guys, it's me again, Ryan Jason. In this video I'm just going to talk about something someone actually mentioned underneath one of my videos, one of my previous videos where I talk about how to contact me on Facebook. And she mentioned how it is that she should talk to skeptics.
Now, this is actually really important for me to know how to talk to skeptics because I have to teach people the dangers of using vitamin B17, also known as amygdalin and laetrile. So this is really important, Ryan. I want to know, how do I talk to skeptics? Do I show them peer-reviewed published papers? Is there some source for different things I should go to? Is there a textbook for your subject specifically? Is there a certain tone that you use? How do you connect with them and show them the factual evidence, empirically shown, of course, so that you're completely academically honest? How, Ryan?
This is coming a lot. This comes across in everyone's life, especially if you're living a life where you're resolving your past issues, where you're seeing how your negative attitude throughout your life when you was unconscious has actually hindered your happiness when it comes to your experiences within life.
Now, this is the part where I have to put in a small warning for you, viewer. Ryan rants a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean a lot. And it's not as much of a word salad as it is grabbing one of those big boxes of assorted fruits and vegetables at stores and just hiding different fruits and vegetables all over your house. And, I don't know, somehow losing your memory and trying to find each of those fruits and vegetables somehow. That's what putting his argument together is like. It's very ranty and it goes to different places. So I'm going to try to make a little video in this to show you where his argument goes and kind of like find each of those individual vegetables that he's hidden so deliciously in his speech. Let's find out, how does he think we should talk to skeptics?
And when everyone starts learning this ascension process, this awakening of self-awareness when it comes to your own experiences, when it comes to your mentality and all your belief systems, we just want to share it to everyone. We want to have everybody really becoming masters of their own minds and being craftsmen of their own state of consciousness, just for the plain reason for them to be able to better reflect a reality based upon their reflection of their own ego or their own personality in order to create the lifestyle that they actually deserve, rather than creating a self-destructive lifestyle built upon unconscious behaviors or unconscious habits.
Now, you might not have gotten that, so I'm going to do a really good translation in my opinion. I spent years as an evangelist at my church, my old church, before I became a skeptic. So I'm going to do an analogy, and instead of this ascension process, I'm just going to replace that word with maturity. Basically, what he is saying is he's maturing in different areas of his life, so he wants other people to mature in those areas through his maturing process. And then there's a word salad. And then, so people can raise their level of maturity, basically, thus raising their level of consciousness. That means that they're more conscious of their actions. They can have more actions that are conscious rather than unconscious, because unconscious reactions that are just instinctual lead to a destructive life, and he doesn't want that. Got it? Now I'm not gonna show you the last minute of what he just talked about, but because it's very long and drawn out, it's about him talking to his brother about stuff they didn't care about. But let me just summarize it real quick with his lessons learned. Basically, number one, don't ignore people even if they're talking about something you don't like. Make sure to bring in your own positive attitude to the conversation and eventually insert your own woo attitude into the conversation.
Ah! Oh! Woo! Oh!
I got an idea.
And then he makes a factual error and thinks that there's 27 amino acids in protein when there's 21. And that's from askbiologist.asu.edu. And then he goes to number two, which, once you establish yourself as an authority in this subject, start steering the conversation towards your selected brand of woo. In this case, he talks about his spiritual woo. I used to use this technique a lot as an evangelist, actually, for my church. Lied a lot for Jesus. Now, This technique is called moving the Overton window. The Overton window is something which is basically summarized as things that the public will accept at the time, ideas the public will accept on a bar from 0 to 10. And usually people are at the
Came in on their level, and I've turned it around and I've made it so that they can actually benefit from my own experiences.
at 5. Now, they will accept a 6 and they'll accept a 4. And you could steer them either way, but they won't accept a 9. So what you do is, if they're at idea 5, right? Or like, oh, I need to train, I need to eat protein, everything. You move them to number 6, which is like, oh, there's actually different amino acids, and you start establishing yourself as an authority, and you move them to 6, and then you move them to 7, then you move them to 8. Now, it's great. The Overton window is a great thing for convincing people, but the problem with it is that it doesn't have to be factual. It just has to be believable. And you don't show them immediate empirical evidence. You just move the bar a little bit. And he's gonna admit it kind of a little bit right here. And it's kind of dishonest, but it works so well that any good speaker uses it. Basically, he just admitted to it. He came into the conversation. He didn't like where the conversation was. He establishes himself as the authority on the conversation and then slowly moves them towards his opinion using his own beliefs. Now, whether these beliefs actually benefit the people or they're true, it doesn't matter because he believes that it's benefiting people.
Okay, this is how you talk to skeptics, because he would have been a hardcore skeptic if I said you need to be vegan because of this, because meat does this too, because meat does that, meat is bad, all this stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat meat. What I'm just saying is you need to understand what it is you're putting into your body.
Again, moving the Overton window, he just showed how he did it. Instead of throwing down his beliefs and his evidence like a normal person would in a conversation, he just moved it slowly, kind of slimed his way through it. I used to do it too, but kind of dirty to do it to your friends. Kind of dirty. And he just, if you didn't realize it initially, he did it to you right now, the audience. He's saying, protein's meat, and he put down his evidence, he put down his beliefs, but then he realized, oh shit, I didn't move you slowly towards my beliefs first. You need to understand what you're putting in your body. That's true. We can all believe in that, but he's slowly moving us towards that belief.
Okay, he would have been a hardcore skeptic in people just eating a plant-based raw diet. He would have been a hardcore skeptic if I plowed in with that information straight from the beginning, okay?
Yes, he would have been a hardcore skeptic. You know what he would have also been? Informed.
He would have been a hardcore skeptic if he was reading a book looking at furniture and I came in with this information, completely irrelevant towards his own experience at that present moment. You know, see what I mean? So that's one way of steering a conversation, okay? That's one way of talking to somebody who would have been a skeptic, okay? To steer the conversation in that particular realm of thought. There are other ways of doing it, okay?
Yes, there are very many other ways of convincing people what you believe without showing them evidence. Shock and awe effect is my favorite, coming in during a extreme moment and then all of a sudden establishing yourself as an authority, completely skipping everything. My favorite way to do it was to listen to people when they're talking about things and wait until I hear something really important, like a family member that was hurting or something, when I was an evangelist. And I would wait until they were in line to go get food or walking to go get in line for food, and I would walk right in front of them, and I would go and I would purchase whatever food they were talking about they wanted, and then I would hand it to them, and I would offer them a prayer for that family member or that instance of what's going on at theaters and stuff. Yeah, that's good. There's a lot of ways, though, Ryan, but there's only a few honest ways to show people.
Say, Lucy's come out recently, the film Lucy. Say you put that on to watch, and then people in your household who aren't into consciousness come into your room and sit down and they start watching it, and they watch the entire thing. Okay? Keep feeding them things like that. Watch The Matrix after, if you like, you know. Get them thinking about the probability, the possibilities. Let the TV do it for you. And then when that conversation arises, bring in your own.
So what we've seen here is basically he's not talking about how to talk to skeptics. He's now introduced Evangelism 101. It's not even Evangelism 101 because a lot of people that would walk into the evangelism seminars would already know this. They just want to know more advanced techniques to do it, more advanced techniques of being dishonest. Man, I should really go to some evangelism stuff and show people how dishonest they get, but they're really good at convincing people without evidence. I'm really good at convincing people without evidence. And I think this guy is too. I don't think he's really interested in showing people factual, empirical evidence of his beliefs. I think he's just moving people to his beliefs. And yeah, dishonesty. It's rampant. Yeah. Anyways, I made this video for you guys to see how people will slowly move the bar towards their beliefs. It's a very common thing that happens, and I just wanted you guys to see it for yourselves. I'll be going back in part 2 to re-examine how he's going to talk about how to actually talk to skeptics, or maybe part 3. But let me know what you guys thought. If you want any questions about how I would move the bar, or the effects I would use, because I'll do that. I mean, I also made assumptive techniques, which was where I would walk in and I'd just immediately assume something like the family is hurting. Remember, I want to make a prayer for your family member that's hurting, stuff like that. Shock and awe mainly. But there's a lot of other techniques. If you want to know about it or how I would basically lie to people, ask me. Anyways, thank you very much, Sugar Pills. I'm going to be continuing with my other projects and stuff, and have a great day.
Experiences.